So, caught another raccoon last night. I've been trying to catch a possum, but keep catching raccoons. Man, this place must be littered with wildlife at night. Man, I wish I had my trail cam. I had one last year, but it doesn't want to work this year. So I can't even tell you how many different critters I've caught this year. A lot more than last year. Thing is last year we had a bigger problem with them because they were actually hurting chickens. This year they haven't hurt any, so it just tells me that we've got a better setup this year than we did last year. They sure do tear up the ground when you catch them though. They just dig. Look at that. Oh, I got to clean out my trap. It won't trap with it all clogged up like that. I'm gonna have to clean that. So I've been talking to you about these preppers on YouTube and how they talk about you got to stockpile, stockpile, stockpile. And that's the only solution they have. They really don't talk about much else. You would think that they would talk about growing animals. These guys all seem like meat eaters to me. And in order to eat meat in an SHTF situation, you have to grow your own meat. But they're going to grow vegetables, and they're going to say they're going to live off vegetables. I don't agree. I mean, people talk about rice. Rice is not going to sustain you. It'll give you a quick bit of energy. And if we're talking about short-term problems, the electric goes out or there's a big snowstorm, yeah, you could eat rice for a while, I suppose. But you're going to need meat in an SHTF. And these guys aren't talking about, you know, a 2-day event or a 2-week event. Although they always talk about you got to have a year's worth or 6 months worth, or they always specify an amount of time of food they got to have. But when they actually talk about an SHTF, they talk about long-term, multi-year, whatever, outages or, you know, whatever it is. It's not going to be a year. And so that's what I always try to convince people is prepping isn't going to get you where you need. If you have a year's worth of food, but the outages or whatever it is 6 years, then you're in real trouble. If you think about the Great Depression lasted, what, a decade? It lasted a long time. And the reason people survived so well, or at least the people who did survive so well, is they were self-sustaining. They weren't prepping. It was the people in the cities that suffered the most. Hooverville, they blamed their depression on President Hoover. So they had these tent cities in these parks in the major cities, and they called them Hoovervilles. So all we got to do is look at history and we know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a multi-year event, and the only people that are going to survive these multi-year events are those that are self-sustaining. Prepping is a waste of money. I get so many people telling me, well, you should do both. I don't have to do both. People will say I have a stockpile of food, a chicken. The reason I have canned chicken, that's how I preserve my food. I don't have a large freezer, so I stockpile canning my food. I grow my food and then I can it. That's not stockpiling. I intend to do it next year. Let's say the SHTF happens tomorrow. I will do the same thing next year as I did this year. Whereas preppers won't. They will stop buying. They will stop stockpiling because there's nothing to stockpile. Somebody asked me, why do I watch the prepper channels if I don't agree with them? The reason I watch them is because I know a lot of my viewers watch them. And what concerns me is when they're telling you what they're doing, it sounds really good until you put a little logic in it. And these guys are so good at selling fear. I mean, man, they're just so good at it. Somebody sent me a video about Yellowstone volcano erupting. And I told you the other day, if something like that were to happen to me, where the sun was blotted out, first thing you got to understand is everything's going to die. All the plants, all the animals, because the sun's going to be blotted out. Plants can't grow. So it's not just me dying, it's everything. So in those kind of events, you just got to put your faith in your creator and know that he's got something planned for you. And I'm okay with that too. Regular stuff, I'm fine. I have no fears. And this is what just drives me crazy with these preppers, is they are afraid. So I made a video the other day and I was talking about fear. These guys are afraid. They don't have a plan, and they know they don't have a plan. So they come in with their grumbly voice and they tell you exactly what they're going to do, and they sell you a good story. They sound like they know what they're talking about. They really do. There's no way what they're telling you is going to work. And I don't understand why so many people buy into it. I guess because they feel like what I'm doing is too hard. I don't know why people think it's so hard. It's not hard. So assume for a minute that I've spent $10,000, well, that's not even an assumption, that's what I did, to buy this property and build my tiny house. Some solar panels, different things. So let's just say, okay, let's just call it $12,000. Now I am self-sustaining and my property's paying me back. I'm not having to buy groceries as much. I don't have to buy electric. I've learned how to minimize my life. I don't have to buy water. I'm saving a ton of money. I don't even have to make that much money. I told you that the other day. I could probably almost quit my job and not have to worry about it anymore. I'm pretty comfortable. Yes, there are events that I probably can't handle, like a super volcano or a 6-year event of a nuclear bomb, but I'm not trying to. But I'm also not trying to sell fear. At least I don't think I am. I try not to. I mean, these guys, what's so funny is, I'm not a fear monger, but I got one that's going to scare you today. He said that the other day, and I was like, what? You're not a fear monger, but you're going to scare us? He tries to scare me every day. Every day I get done watching this guy's video, I feel like, oh man, he's right. I'm not ready. I think, yes, I am. I got that covered. I can do ABC and no problem. And that's the thing, is there isn't any problems that I can't resolve because I have to resolve problems all the time. I live off grid. I don't have the help of an electric company. I don't have the help of a water company. I don't even have the help of a maintenance guy to come out and fix my stuff. I have an on-demand water heater. If my water heater breaks, that's on me. They're not going to come out and fix it. My tank is an IBC tank. I use an RV pump. There is no maintenance guy going to come out, handyman, to fix my stuff, so I got to do it myself. You learn these things because you put them in place yourself. These guys say, oh, you're never going to be an expert on all things. Well, when you're living off grid, you're an expert on everything off grid that you own. You have to, because nobody else knows how to do it. Solar panels. You learn how to do it. If you know that red goes to positive and black goes to negative, you got it covered. You can do it. Today, he's talking about what he thinks is right around the corner. And he doesn't say it could happen, it might happen. He says it is happening with no evidence. There's just no evidence what he says is happening. The other day he said, beef price is going to be $50 a pound. I told you so. What did you tell me? I haven't seen $55 a pound on ground beef. And so if you're not paying attention to what he's telling you, you'll buy into it. Yeah, I can see $55 a pound beef, and I could. But you know what I said in that video the other day? I don't care. I got it covered. I'm fine. He is scared. And today, he admitted it. He admitted that he is scared of the future. He's telling us today that the thing that's going to happen, that's going to put us in SHTF, is economic collapse. Although he started talking about food shortages, he said that's the thing we have to fear, is economic collapse. And yeah, economic collapse could happen. But I don't have to sit here and be worried and scream at you, you got to do something now. If you don't do it now, you're going to die. Because I don't think you're going to die. I think what you're going to do is you're going to try to find yourself a cheap piece of property, because I hear it in the comment section all the time. I'm looking for a piece of property. We find one, somebody buys it up from underneath their nose, but we're not quitting. That's the attitude you got to have. You're not quitting. You're going to find a piece. And if you feel like there's not enough time to build a tiny house, you're going to go out to Home Depot and you're going to get one of those little sheds. You're going to fix it up. You're going to have a house. You're going to get yourself some solar panels pretty cheaply off internet. Heck, I think there's even rebates you can get from the government now, I think. You're going to get some chickens. I know that a lot of people have gotten chickens, a lot of people. And you can survive on chickens. You can't survive on rice. You can survive on chicken eggs. I don't think any of that's true. I think we are being forced to go hungry. I mean, if this guy's right and the food shortages are going to happen, I think we're being forced into it. Since we know that we're being forced to starve to death, why starve? People will say the government's going to drive me out of here. And if the government tries to drive me out of here, I think a lot of people in this town are going to say, No, and we'd probably fight back. So, you know, that's more of a Civil War type of thing, not so much an SHTF, a different scenario. But we know, because they have said, that governments around the world, including ours, feels there's an overpopulation problem in the world. If you fear that the earth is going to die because of an overpopulation of humans, wouldn't you as a government entity try to reduce the population? And there's a couple ways you can do that pretty easily. Water shortages and food shortages. So when you hear government saying they're paying farmers not to produce food, even though we're seeing skyrocketing prices on food costs, that would tell me, again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist and I'm not trying to fear monger, I'm trying to explain that if you're in my position, you're not scared. Several countries around the world, including Canada, have decided that they're not going to allow nitrogen or limit the amount of nitrogen that you can use to grow your food for farmers. So they're going to have to reduce farming. Ireland, I think it was Ireland, the only way to comply with the requirements that they've put in place is reducing the amount of livestock they have by half. So if you had 100 cows last year, you're only allowed to have 50 cows this year. So these guys can't even sell as much. Well, just recently I reported, and last night a news host reported, that the marshals, the U.S. federal marshals, came out to an Amish guy's farm. He runs a grocery store. Now the thing was so interesting about this is this Amish guy raises his cows without any fuels, no fuels. So he's not hurting the environment. But since the government was being passed by, you know, no FDA inspections and all this, the guy was selling his cow meat to his neighbors and friends and different things, and they came out and fined him. They shut him down. I think it was a $300,000 fine. This Amish guy. If you'll click that super thanks button down there, I'd really appreciate it. I hope I can inspire you to not be afraid and show them so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.